everyone, today I'm here to do another Mashup review. This is my third Mashup review in the last couple months and I really enjoy them so much. If you're unfamiliar with my Mashup reviews, I usually take about 3 books every single video and I review them all in one video. So I decided to put 3 of them in a video kind of within the same genre and talk about them all in one video. I feel like it's just easier, it's faster, it's much more fun in my opinion. So today's Mashup review video is going to be like YA fantasy. One's kind of sci-fi, but they're all borderline fantasy books pretty much. The books I'll be reviewing today are Roar by Cora Carmack, Song of the Current by Sarah Toskler, and Want by Cindy Pon. If you're interested in watching my thoughts and opinions on all 3 of these, just please keep on watching. However, if you're just interested in hearing my thoughts on one of these books, I will leave the timestamps down below in the description. You can learn which time I talk about each particular book. So just in case you're wondering, without further ado, let's get into this Mashup review. So the first book I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to talk about them in the order that I read them, and the first one is Roar, Cora Carmack, and this is my favorite of these 3. I love this book. I really, I loved it. It's one of my favorite of the years. That's how much I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I was not expecting to read this book at all this year. It was not even really on my radar till it came out, and then I heard a lot of people talk about it, and I was honestly in a fantasy kick. For some reason, I get in genre kicks every now and then, and I was in a fantasy kick, and I really wanted a good fantasy book. And I read this one, and I am so happy I did. This is the first book in a new series, duology. I'm not quite sure. I do know there are going to be more books, I just don't know how many. And this book is a unique fantasy one. It's all about like storms. Almost our main character Aurora, she also goes by Rora, and then eventually in the book she also goes by Roar, so girl's got a lot of names. Comes from one of the oldest stormlings families in existence. Every one of her ancestors have been like a stormling, and what that means is they can battle storms. Like this whole land is really affected by storms, whether they be whether they be twisters, whether they be hurricanes, whether they be like fog, like you name it, skyfire, firestorm, anything. And what these people do that are so blessed with the ability to be like a stormling is they can battle the storms and they can take out the heart of the storms. And when they do, they get one of these like little storm hearts, which is pretty awesome. I love how that's included. The publisher sent that to me. And so when you pull out a storm heart, you can use it and it really helps harness your power as well. So basically Aurora comes from one of the oldest families that can do this. And the only problem is Aurora doesn't have these powers. It has never manifested in her. So basically she is meant to become queen in her kingdom and she doesn't have any power. She can't fight these storms that her people need protecting from. So her mother arranges a marriage to another prince with another kingdom. And so that begins to happen, and a little bit before her wedding she learns some things about her fiance that she does not really enjoy, so she flees and she runs into this kind of black market, and she runs into these people that are storm hunters. They are not blessed with stormling powers. They don't have like any, they aren't stormlings. They chase storms. They're storm hunters. They find the storms and they defeat them and things like that. And she joins their group so she can learn how to do that as well, because she is not gifted with the stormling magic. So that is what this book is all about. I hope I didn't butcher the synopsis. It's so interesting. I really enjoyed this book. How it was different from any other fantasy book I read because it deals with storms and kind of how many different like storms there are and how you can battle a storm and you can take the heart out of it. It was just really fascinating in my opinion. I've never read a book like that. And I loved our main character Aurora, or as she goes by when she goes with this storm hunter, she goes by Roar. And I loved her learning about these storms and learning how to fight them. There was also a really awesome romance in this book. It does kind of form a love triangle, if you will, and I'm still not decided on what side I'm on, honestly, but I like both of them. But this book is just so interesting. If you're looking for a very unique fantasy book that deals with storms and, you know, like battling storms and the variety of storms there are, as well as the politics that kind of go within a fantasy kingdom, as well as some awesome steamy romance, please pick up this book. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people seem to also enjoy it as well on Goodreads. There are a few that are not a fan of it. I think you're either going to really love this book or you're really not going to like this book. I am on the fence of, I really loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I read it in 2 days. I just really enjoyed, the main thing I enjoyed about this book was learning about the stormling powers and the storms and how, you know, people fight these storms and how these storms exist and things of that nature. I just found it so interesting. So I would definitely recommend this book. I just I loved it so much. The next book I want to talk about is Song of the Current by Sarah Toskler. This is also a first book in the series. Actually, I think all of these books I'm talking about today are the first book in a series. Again, I don't know how many books it's going to be. This book is all about like kind of, it's a fantasy book, but it's got like a pirate sea twist almost. I'll probably did that really wrong. Either way, this follows a girl named Caroline, also known as Caro, and she works with her dad on the Wherry, I believe it's called, it's a particular boat, and they sail all down this river, they sail all down these riverlands where she lives, and they collect cargo and deliver it and things of that nature. And for all of her family's life, and for all of her family's generation, they have been called on the river god, and the river god really helps, you know, keep their voyages safe and keeps them really tells them things, and they've always been in tune pretty much with the river and the river god. Only Caro has still not been called by the river god. So things happen, her father gets put in jail, and she actually has the opportunity to deliver this really important package, and so she does that, then she can free her father. So she starts doing that, but she hasn't been called by the river god yet, so definitely problems arise and things of that nature. So that's the whole gist of this book, is this big epic like kind of river journey and her being called on by the river god. Overall, I was kind of underwhelmed by this book. A lot of people really enjoy it, and I can understand why. I kind of fell on the fence of I enjoyed it. It was kind of a middle of the road book for me. I will say the character development is really spot on. Caroline is a very strong female. She is not afraid to speak her mind. She's not afraid to use her brute strength. She's not afraid to use her strength, and she's not afraid to be assertive. Caro is very much a great main character. There is a love interest in this as well. I kind of liked it. I wasn't like 100% on board with it. The whole point of this book, I think, is the fact of the river god, as Caro is really, you know, stressed that she has not been called by the river god, and she was on this, you know, really important journey. One thing I didn't really love about this book was the sailing talk, I guess you could say. If you've read books about boats and things of that nature, there's gonna be a lot of like sailing lingo and a lot of things that you don't know. Like there were so many, you know, instances where they were talking about the boat, and I had to look it up because I had no clue. So that's kind of a downfall for me in my opinion, but the writing was solid. This was a debut novel, and I do think it's an awesome debut novel at that. I just kind of wanted more from it. I wanted it to be a little bit faster paced. I felt like it kind of weighted up and down the whole throughout the book, but I really wanted a little bit more action in my opinion. But overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. I think it's a good, solid debut novel, and if you're interested in about like rivers and about pirates, because they do have an aspect of pirates in this book, and if you're interested in about like just sailing and things of that nature, I would definitely recommend this book. And yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I just wanted to enjoy it a little bit more. The last book I want to talk about is Want by Cindy Pond. Again, the first book in another series. I don't know how many books it's going to be. This is my most recently read book, and I really enjoyed this book. From the minute I read this book's description, I had to read it because it sounded so unique. Look at the cover too. It's amazing. This book takes place in a future Taipei where everything is polluted. So the air is polluted all throughout the world, and it really can affect your lifespan. It can affect your health. It's really horrible. The rich can afford these really like insanely expensive suits that have a helmet and have, you know, temperature regulated things and protects you from the air. And like maybe 5% of the whole world can afford these suits, and the rest of the people just have to really suffer, and they die from illnesses from this pollution. So we have that going on. This follows our main character Jason, and he is, you know, he's one of the many people that can't afford one of these suits and really suffers from the pollution, suffers from the sickness that this pollution brings. Him and his friends decide to band together and really get down to the core of why this is happening, and, you know, try to fight it. So they try to infiltrate the people that make these suits called the Jin Corporation, and Jason disguises himself as one of the Yo, which means to have these people that are really rich that can afford these suits, and he decides to, you know, disguise himself as one of the Yos and infiltrates really the Jin Corporation and discover like why they are doing this, and learn that they are just not only making these suits, but they also are attributing to this pollution factor. You gotta think, they want people to keep buying their suits, so they kind of really hurt the earth more and hurt the pollution and feed the pollution more in order to do so. So hopefully I did not butcher that synopsis. Just take it for like there's pollution going on in the world. Jason and his friends decide to, you know, disguise themselves as one of the rich to really like learn more about their corporation and take it down. Really enjoyed this book. This is a great like sci-fi fantasy book. And I'll say the first 70 pages are kind of slow because you have to build up with this world and also with their plans of delving into disguising themselves and like, you know, infiltrating the Jinn Corporation. But after that, it got really, really interesting. I loved learning more about like how this pollution came to be and learning about Jason's plans of how he could, you know, really infiltrate and what they exactly would do. And I really enjoyed his friend group as well. It's such great diversity. It was a very, very interesting book. I would highly recommend. It's very, very short. It's only like 300 pages. It flies through, trust me, because it's just so action-packed and you want to keep going because you want to keep learning about what they're going to do to solve this problem, because Jason and his friends, Jason, Zoe and his friends just want, you know, to help the people that can't afford these ridiculous suits, and they just want to help people, you know, be healthy and not have pollution everywhere. And this also delves into so much politics, as you can see. Like, it delves into, you know, the rich versus the poor, and how, you know, there's so many people that, you know, are suffering because they don't have the money like some people do, and just the rich and how they just do whatever they want and don't care about the other people. This is such an important, I think, read, such an important and diverse read, and I would highly recommend it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's definitely my second favorite read in this whole video. Like, I just really love the characters. It had great character development. It also had a good romance, but I just loved the whole, like, taking down this corporation and disguising themselves and kind of infiltrating this corporation. I thought it was just really, really good. So there you have it. There is my Mashup review on these 3 books. I have to say I enjoyed all 3 of them. All great YA fantasy reads, and I would recommend them all. Definitely my favorite would have to be Roar, followed closely by Want. Both amazing books. And I would also definitely recommend The Song of the Current as well. If you have read any one of these books, please let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you feel the same as me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video and these Mashup reviews, please also let me know, because I love doing these Mashup reviews. I feel like it's just a better way for me to delve into each particular book that I read rather than talking about them briefly in a monthly wrap-up. This way I can talk about them a little bit more in detail. So let me know if you enjoy them. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.